Okay, so this video pertains to week 4, task 2-4. Um, before you, by the time you got to this video, there's a lot of stuff that you should have done. You should have read through this written introduction to the task for this bundle. You should have read about academic honesty. You should have gotten your first set of questions, lecture videos, written instructions. That is week 4, task 2-3. This task with its written lecture, it's 2 videos and instructions on what to write in light of the written video, lecture and the videos is integral to understanding the next part. So make sure that you've read through all of this because I'm going to be drawing from and mentioning and referencing this written lecture, assuming that you understand it. I'm also going to be referencing and drawing from these videos and what it was that you're supposed to produce. So if you have not created the 2 paragraphs that I talk about in the written instructions and here in this video, make sure that you do that first. And if you still haven't done that, technically you should have done that before you started week 4, task 2A4. So you should have already completed step 1 and step 2. You should have downloaded the STACE handout, worked through it with me. We did it in about an hour for 9 pages. That is very efficient. I used to go through it in a lot more detail, breaking down arguments, labeling them, reformatting them, making more points, but I've cut it down from about at least 2 hours, if not 3 hours, to an hour. So really focusing on the stuff that will be most helpful in helping you understand how to complete this bundle. So then you're watching this video because if you followed everything, the logical structure and order that I have presented for this bundle, you are at step 3. So the purpose of this write-up is that you will make sense of your causal history using STACE's formal definitions for free acts and unfree hacks. If you know what I mean by causal history, if you don't know what I mean, that might be because you haven't completed prior elements of this bundle. So no, you should have also listened to the last lecture. That's about 15 minutes because that's where we go over the extended, more nuanced, most precise way of understanding and compiling what STACE has to say about free acts and unfree acts. So make sure you've got that because this is where right here, you've got to understand that stuff to do this part correctly. So even though I said, that you're going to do basically a write-up, there's also a table construction. So what I'm doing is I'm allowing for diversity of demonstration when it comes to showing what you've learned. So I'm going to let you do this using a visual in a table. And so I tell you to look at the top of, STACE's table at the top of page 7 of the download to see what I'm talking about. As you can see here, so you should have already done that. If you haven't done that, go ahead and look at what's at the top of page 7. So I do tell you to modify the table headings. We have a little bit more detail in our table headings. Make sure you follow these instructions carefully. And then you should have already read through this. All right, and you should have already looked at STACE's examples for this. So right here, this is no longer here by the time you got to this video. You're watching this video because you clicked on this link. So in this video, I'm going to give you some demonstrations, some coaching, and some missing requirements for your submission. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So at this point, you should have in Word, perhaps, in fact, I would actually recommend maybe doing it in Word and then putting it in here. But if not, you could go ahead and and now that I'm thinking about it, let's do the right submission. Yeah, so I'm thinking, what are the options here? Submit, so you can save a draft. Okay, so yeah, when I say save a draft, at this point, if you're at this video, you should already have your first 2 paragraphs from earlier. So see, you can save a draft if you're using the write-up function. Don't submit it if you still have to work on this part, but let me go back to show you. So I clicked on here. And then if you want to work directly within Blackboard, you click Write Submission. If you want to do all your work like in Word and then copy and paste it, then you would attach a file instead. Now, if you do that, make sure that the formatting still looks good. So they've gotten rid of the arrow here. I don't know what's happened, but they didn't announce it to us. They didn't let us know, but there's this new way of using or new word processor. I don't know, they've changed it up. It used to be arrows and now it's triple dots to extend expand the toolbar right here. They've also gotten rid of some editing functions that I used to use to clean up the formatting and stuff. So you might see a little bit of wonkiness with the formatting. So I do plan to give feedback. Another thing that I do not like that some students have also echoed is you cannot expand the windows anymore. We used to be able to say, you know, we want a big window of like 12 rows, and now it's only giving you 6 rows. So it might be better for some of you to use Word because you can't see all of your answer. I know I don't like that, but I think it might also expand as you type your answer. Okay, so for this week's bundle, I've stressed this in the written directions, I want everything submitted all at once. And I am going to get to the table that you have to construct using Stace's thinking, but I'm going over other requirements and expectations as well. So to help me, you know, easily see where your different answers are for different prompts in light of different lectures, you're going to use subheadings. So the first subheading that I want you to use is going to be you can put it in bold and we'll just put it like this, a write-up of the causal history leading to my enrollment in philosophy as an online class. Okay, so then you should have a paragraph here, blah, 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 blah. Do not bold the entire thing. So I need to unbold that, so I'm gonna highlight it. It's so hard on my eyes when you bold everything. I might not even accept your stuff if you bold everything because it's too hard on my eyes. And then you should have another paragraph, okay? So those each stand for a paragraph. Then what you're going to do is you're gonna create a new subtitle, table construction for some causals, we're gonna put for some actions. No, we're not gonna do that. No, let's just shorten this up now that I'm thinking about it. Metaphysical table construction. All right, so if you are doing, so then again, let me make sure bold isn't, so I gotta undo the bold so I don't have everything bolded. Now, if you're doing your assignment in this write-up function, then you're gonna go here to construct a table. For formatting purposes, you need to pick 2 columns, of course. Don't just pick 1 row. Yes, you could put your 3 sentences for free acts and 3 sentences for unfree acts in 1 row, but believe me, because of formatting, you're gonna want to, and I'm expecting you to have a total of 4 rows. So there's 4 rows, 2 columns. So then here, you're going to put the title. So see written instructions. Of course, I'm just noting this for you visually. So I should not see exactly this here. You should go back to the written instructions. What did I tell you to title this? And then what did I tell you to title this? So you'll put that there. And then you also know from the instructions that you should have 3 sentences in each column. So I'm going to give you an example. So you should have already read through the written instructions. You already have examples from the Stace reading and lecture. I'm just going to emphasize and help you with certain things and make sure you understand what it is exactly I'm looking for. So if you go to the table, top of page 7 in Stace, you'll see how he wrote up a single sentence to identify an event, action, choice, or decision, and then include in that sentence why that action, decision, or event occurred. That's what you're going to do as well. If whatever you put here in your table, I should be able to pinpoint it in the causal history paragraphs that you wrote up. So let's say I wrote up my causal history. So remember in a video, I verbally did that. I unpacked the causal history of me teaching, becoming a philosophy professor for Dallas College. And then I verbally presented to you how I would then take that and write that up in a paragraph. So at this point, you should have those 2 paragraphs. By the way, if you cannot come up with 3 items for the left column and 3 items for the right column, it could be that your paragraphs are not detailed enough. one thing that philosophers care about is precision and detail. So you might need to go back to your causal history and break down the causal chain even further. Okay? So why did you go to the grocery store? I wanted some food. Oh, well, you can break that down some more, right? Well, why did you want some food? Because I was hungry. Why were you hungry? Because I had not eaten all day. So look at all the causes I was able to add. And then I can say, well, was I free to be hungry? Was I free not to eat all day? Was I free to go to the grocery store? So you might have to do something like that. And that's okay. Go back and edit your paragraph to add more stuff because you don't want to have anything in here that is not in your paragraph. So if you do add something in here, go back and put it in the correct place in your paragraph. All right, so let me come up with one. So I can say, I started teaching philosophy at Dallas College because I was hired. I think what I said in my verbal video was because I applied for the position. Of course, there's other causes in between that and this, but still I have plenty of examples, so I don't have to break this down further because I know that I have a lot of other examples I can place in here from my causal history write-up, my hypothetical one. Okay, so notice what I did. This is what you're going to do. You start off with the event, action, choice, decision. Okay, so for me, you could say it was a decision to teach at Dallas College, or it was a choice, it was an event, or it's an action. It's something that I do. Hold on, I've got to plug in my computer to make sure it doesn't run out of energy in my laptop. Okay, and then you do like a because, and then you give because you say, what made you do that, okay? Was it something internal? Think about, go again, so, now I need to stress. When you're placing something in one of the columns, if you're placing it in the left column, you have to look at the definition that we came up with in the last video for free acts. If you're placing something here, make sure it fits with the definition of unfree acts. So I'm putting this here. Remember, something's being caused is not what separates something being free or unfree. What separates the two kinds of actions, events, choices, or decisions is the kind of cause. So here I'm claiming that there was something internal to me, my person, right? Whether it's my body, physiological state, or my mind, my thinking, my wants, my desires, psychological states, internal impulses. And here it has to be something that is external, outside of a person, does not originate within me, or I'm not, something internal is not the immediate cause. So I applied for the position. Now, how do I know that that is supposed to go over here? Because I know that if I say I applied for the position, I know that nobody made me do that. That said, I really don't like this example because it doesn't show enough attention to me really understanding the definition. So I'm going to change this a little bit. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, why did I apply for the position? I remember in my causal history, I said I wanted to work in Dallas, right? Basically, I wanted to be closer to my family, blah, 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 to my current husband. It's like I don't have a line of future husbands waiting. So when you're doing your examples, make sure you pick stuff where it's easy to see how it fits the definition. This doesn't really show me, because this doesn't say anything. It's just not enough to demonstrate mastery of knowledge. So, but what I can do is break this down. I applied for this position. I started teaching philosophy at Dallas College because I left my job in Austin. How do I want to do this? Okay, because I wanted to work in the city where my family and boyfriend at the time lived. Okay, so guys, really important lesson. That was intellectual perseverance and intellectual empathy and intellectual humility. Why? Because as you saw, I struggled. And that's one thing that I really like to talk to students about, because a lot of students think that if they're struggling, that means they're slow or dumb. No, that means you're learning and you're building your brain cells and your neural pathways. Another not so great reaction that some students have is that if they are struggling to understand something, they think that they have this idea, it's called a fixed mindset, that they're already smart, that they should already understand everything. Therefore, if they're challenged with a new idea, a theory, or an assignment, that means that either the teacher's not clear, or the teacher's doing something wrong, or there's something wrong with the assignment. Not necessarily. It means that it could mean, like with me, that I want to help you make your brain stronger and bigger by challenging it to grow new brain cells in neural pathways to learn to apply more difficult and challenging information. So I want you to keep that in mind. I myself was struggling right now. I had to be intellectually perseverant, trying to figure out how to come up with a really good example. And it's better because notice the word that I have here, wanted. Wanted is a word that points to what? Something internal within me. When we think about wants, we can think about desires, motivation. Are those words, or some version of those words, not in the definition for free acts? Okay, also intellectual humility I showed here because I didn't know. I thought I knew what I wanted to write, but then I realized my answer wasn't good enough. Intellectual humility. I remembered that Dr. C said I really have to show that I'm paying attention to the concepts I'm applying, you know, the wording and the concepts, and how Stace would use the concepts in conjunction with what I personally know about my own lived experience, my own internal reality. So I didn't have the best answer, and I had to have intellectual humility to realize that and acknowledge that. So intellectual humility and intellectual perseverance came hand in hand in a very positive way. But as I said, I'm applying Stace's concept of a free act, not my own personal opinion. Even if yours coincides with Stace, you still have to be really precise and make sure you're applying his way of thinking about this. So it's very important here to work with this part. And remember in the previous lecture when we were working on making sure we understand the definitions, that I said, here's the core part of the definition. Make sure you're focused on this core part. So as you're classifying events, actions, and decisions from your causal history, make sure you're paying attention to the core part for free acts and unfree acts. Okay, so as you can see, the lectures, they all build on each other. The assignments, they all build on each other. Okay, so then of course, so you can see I started with an event or an action or a decision. Those things are almost synonymous. And then I say, well, what was the cause? What made me do that? Now, of course, you're supposed to come up with 3 here. If you can only come up with 2, then you're going to have to come up with 4 here. If you can only come up with 1, then you're going to have to come up with 5 here, because I want a total of 6 things where you name or reference a decision, action, or choice, and then you tell me what made you do that. You identify the cause. Remember, if it's over here, then the cause has to be internal. What does it mean for the cause to be internal? Go back to the definition for free act. What does it mean for cause to be external or unfree? Go back to the definition. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you one more example from my own personal life. So I might put, I undertook both a major and a minor at SMU in the early 90s because the undergraduate program required students to have both a major and a minor to graduate. I don't like what it did with the formatting right there. Ah, see, I fixed it right there. Okay, nice. Okay, so your sentences might be longer, and that's okay. Stace's sentences are fairly short, but for your reality, you might need longer sentences. So aren't you glad you're watching the video? Look, notice how much more information I give you in the video. I give you the basics of what you need, and then I expand on it. I give you examples, I give you warnings, I give you tips, I give you missing requirements. So here, I didn't get to choose. I didn't say, hey, I think I should have a major and a minor. Something external decided that for me. That did not, that the immediate cause of me choosing a minor to go with my major was, or having both a major or minor, I was not the immediate cause of that in terms of, motivations, internal things. No, something external to me said, you have to do this. Okay, so then of course I would continue on to give my examples here. Let me just iterate one more thing. If you have something in here, then it's supposed to be in your causal history. If you cannot come up with enough stuff for the table, that means you do not have enough breakdown in your causal history write-up. So you need to go back to those paragraphs and try to break down the causal chain more. I lectured on that at the beginning of this video, I believe, when I told you how you can break down your causal chain more. If you add something in here that is not in your causal history write-up, then you need to go back and add it to your causal history write-up and make sure you put it in a really logical, sequential place when you do so. I think this concludes this section. Just know that when you do the next part, you're going to do your paragraphs, right? Make sure that you put the 2 paragraphs under here. So I don't know why it's highlighting that. See if I can get rid of that. Okay, there we go. So scroll down here. So then you'll continue. Oh my gosh, guys, I just figured something out. It is not letting me add text below. So hold on, let me see if I can problem solve. This is, oh my gosh, I do not like this new processing. So what this means is I'm going to have to change this a little bit. I'm going to have you include your paragraphs within the column. So we're going to do metaphysical, and I misspelled that, table construction and metaphysical table construction with paragraphs. So I am modifying the instructions, and I will have changed the written instructions by the time you get to this, hopefully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a row, because as you've just seen, it's not letting me add text below this. So if you're doing this in Word and you upload it as Word, you should be able to add your paragraphs below the table. If you're doing it in this, and I'm using Firefox, so maybe if I used Chrome or something else, it would work. But if you cannot type below that, you're going to add a row. So this says insert row before, insert row after. So let's say I've got some more examples. So I've got, hey, what happened to I was supposed to add a row and it didn't do that. Let's try that again. So I'm giving you guys a fix-up. So here I want to add insert row after. Okay, so there should be, okay, so now we have a row. So I'd have my row, so example 1 for each column, example 2, example 3. So then here you could do your paragraph. And so as you know, you're supposed to pick one of the things, one of your sentences, right, in each row, and you're supposed to write a paragraph. So this is where you can do your paragraph here. So it is possible to type up an entire paragraph where you talk about, where you connect more of Stacy's theory to your own thinking.